So what's up, Facebook? So today I decided that I wanted to come to you and talk to you about where I am in my process, and also about some contract law, so that maybe, if you're wondering about this, maybe I can give you some information, help you out. So where I am right now is I have already started my website with my business, and I have looked at a lot of fabrics. I've talked to manufacturers. We've already went on our trip to Thailand, so definitely watch those videos if you haven't seen them. I'm gonna have 2 videos that are about like the businessy kind of side of it, and then 1 video more so just about Thailand, just in case you want to go for vacation. I haven't made that video yet, haven't edited it, but it'll be up soon. Overall, what I took from Thailand is that a lot of people are venturing away from China for manufacturing for several reasons. One is that you have to have a lot of MOQ, like the minimum orders are high for someone starting off, and getting the quality that you need it can cost you several failures trying to get that worked out. Sizing is also a problem. Being an American, we are on the larger scale of things, and finding getting your chart over, especially when you're not ordering 500 of an item, getting them to adjust to your sizing and your criteria for, like, let's say the fabric and the quality of the fabric. It's frustrating. So going through that is very difficult. I didn't want to just make t-shirts. I wanted to actually make clothing, and getting like my hoodies made and getting the embellishments and getting all of that has ended up being very expensive. And also just getting started, getting boxes, all of those things. Shipping is very expensive. First off, you have to, depending on what you're buying, how much you're buying, you have different shipping options. For me, where I am, it's just more convenient to get a air carrier, and ship through them. And because I'm not ordering huge quantities, and getting freight, having someone pick it up, get it through customs, all of those things, it's just extremely tedious. You have to hire someone to do that, and I'm just not at the point where I'm moving those kind of units anyway, so it just doesn't make sense. So trying to figure that out took some time of what I was looking at. Still trying to get some feedback on what my customers want to see, what they want to buy. There's so many different places to shop nowadays, so trying to attract the people that I want to work with, and weed out all those that aren't looking for what I offer, or are looking for things that you can simply find anywhere, because I definitely want to have good quality clothing. And so I'm at that point. So in the next couple weeks, I will have to have some models. We turned one of our extra bedrooms into a studio so that we can do some modeling. We're happy that we have the house that we have right now, because we have so many bedrooms that we can kind of do some of this stuff here and at home. But I bought a studio. I'll probably do a tour of that. I'll probably video vlog that when the models come over and do the makeup and the hair and all of that, and see how that is. I think that'll be fun. But a lot of the clothes have come in. Some of it still needs to be altered. So just working on that. My labels have come in. I'm still working on the website, things like that. I went through GoDaddy right now, so I'll let you know if I like it. I've only had it for about a month now, so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about contracts. Contracts can seem very intimidating. Again, I am not a lawyer, so take what you want from this, but it took a long time going to business school to really get some in-depth understanding of contracts. This is mainly what I went over in when I was getting my master's, and so I wanted to share a little bit with you just to make you a little bit more comfortable with writing your own contracts, because when you're first starting a business, you may not have money to get lawyers to do everything for you. And there's a common misconception that contracts have to be in writing, that you have to have someone's signature for a contract to be valid. And that's simply not true. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. If you like this content, if this is interesting to you, let me know and I will go more in depth in contracts. But I got a feeling some of y'all going to be bored and be like, yeah, we ain't interested in really learning. But if you are, then stay tuned. So what I wanted to talk to you about is there's a synonym for contracts that you have to have in order for it to be legally binding, and it's ACCLAF. I took some notes. I got some notes from when I was studying, and so I'm going to go over them. So if you see me looking down, that's me checking my notes. Don't get irritated because I'm trying to make sure I'm coming at you factual, okay? So the first one, A, is agreement, okay? C is consideration. The first C is consideration. The second C is capacity. The L is legality. The other A is genuineness of assent. And then the F is form. Okay, so let's talk about consideration. Consideration means that you have to give that person something. There has to be an exchange of something of value. I cannot hold you to a contract or that where you don't gain anything from doing what I want you to do. It has to have value. It can be, hey, if you clean the grounds, I let you live here, right? The value is how much that rent would be, or it can be monetary. It can just be money. Whatever it is, there has to be some type of consideration, some type of, exchange of something of value. Then there has to be capacity. That's the other C. So capacity means that the person that I'm doing the contract with has to have the ability to understand the contract, right? So I can't do a contract with someone who is a minor. I cannot have a contract with someone who is has a mental handicap that hinders them being able to understand the contract. I cannot form a contract with someone who is under the influence, who is intoxicated, any of those things, right? Then there is legality. I cannot have someone under contract to do something that is illegal. I mean, you can't. You can't hold someone to a contract because they didn't kill somebody and you hired them to do that. Like, it has to be legal. Also, genuineness of assent means that I cannot have a gun to your head and say, hey, you sign this contract or else. It has to be something that they wanted to do. I cannot have leverage over them. It has to be, they have to enter the agreement on their own because they wanted to. And then I think that's pretty much everything else is kind of self-explanatory, right? Let's see. Now, some contracts do have to be in writing. Those contracts are like if you're selling land, things like that. You have someone else that's going to take over your car or whatever. Some contracts do have to be in writing, but some can just be expressed, some can be implied, and that kind of leads us to our next point, which is the types of contracts. So you have bilateral, which is an offerer and an offeree. Okay, they exchange a promise to each other, boom, the contract is formed. That's bilateral, bi meaning two. Then there's unilateral, meaning one. Unilateral is like, let's say I say, hey, unilateral contract. Hey, if you find my dog, I put up a poster, if someone finds my dog, Monty, I will pay you $1,000. Once that person comes to me with Monty, I have to pay them that $1,000. Did they sign a contract with me? No. But unilaterally, they do have a contract. So I do have to pay them, right? Then there is express. That means that the terms of the contract are expressed either orally or in writing. There is implied or based on conduct, like a husband and a wife. There's certain things that are implied. Marriage is a contract. That's why you need a lawyer when you get out of it. So that's an implied contract, right? A parent and a child, those are kind of implied relationships. things like that. What's another one? Implied in law, like a quasi contract. So that's like saying if I get into a car accident, it's implied that the ambulance will come and help me, right? That's implied. That's the thing that they should do. Okay. Then so then when you talk about a contract being valid or voided, then you have to think about, okay, was it executed? Meaning, was it fully performed on both sides? Did person A, the offerer, do everything that they were supposed to do? Did the offeree do everything they were supposed to do? Which one did I start with? Did both the offerer and the offeree do everything they were supposed to do? Then there's executory, which means that one of the parties did not fulfill their obligation. Okay, so a contract is enforceable if it's valid. Okay, if it's valid, that means that it has the 4 elements of agreement, consideration, is legal, and capacity, meaning that the person could understand the contract. A voidable contract is when a contract can be rescinded by one of the parties because it is legally defective, meaning that, for instance, it exceeds a reasonable amount of time. Like, someone didn't respond to the contract or didn't perform their part of the contract in a reasonable amount of time. And that is something that, depending on the situation, depending on the judge, they will determine what a reasonable amount of time is. A lot of times you want to stay within 30 days or what is customary. If I do something and every day, like let's say you order a dress from me and I ship it out, and let's say I don't say you'll get it in 5 to 10 business days, but let's say you always get it in 5 to 10 business days, and you've bought it from me for forever, 20 times, and you've gotten it in 5 to 10 business days, then that is implied that you will get your dress in 5 to 10 business days. And if that's not going to be met, then I need to let you know that, your dress is going to be late, something like that. So, and then a voided contract is a contract missing the agreement, the consideration, or it's not legal. Okay, so then that contract can be void. It will be void. All right, so let's look at these other notes. Interpretation of contracts. Plain meaning rule, no extrinsic evidence. When language has more than one meaning, it will be interpreted against the drafter. So sometimes people want to not be honest and they want to write a contract as vague as possible. When that goes to court, the judge will reason on what you've written, and it will be interpreted against the drafter, meaning it will go in your favor as little as possible. So they will try to reason along. So pretty much if the defendant says, hey, I reason this way, and that's logical, they're going to go with that, despite what you say you thought it meant or you wrote it to mean. Order of way, express terms, course of performance, dealing with customers, usage, or trade, meaning how did they do it in the past. So, yes, how you formally do things, people think that that's not a contract. If you routinely do things a certain way, then that becomes part of your contract. And if it's not going to be done that way, then there's certain things that you have to do just to make sure that they're aware of what the expectation is. Okay, termination of an offer, revocation of it by offerer. So unless something is irrevocable, an offerer can offer something, right? And then decide, you know what, never mind. But it has to do it before it's accepted by the offeree, right? Then the offeree can also reject a contract. They can either counter offer, they can, either just say no thanks, or they can use the mirror image rule in common law. Then there is the operation of law, which is a lapse of time. So if the contract goes unfulfilled for a reasonable amount of time, then that offer is terminated, or there's a destruction, death, or death of the offeree. So so you just kind of need to know, like, when did this person act on this offer, okay? And was there enough notice time given to either counter the offer or to accept the offer? So that's something you need to know when you're going into business. You need to understand how people in business think about those things. Agreement is acceptance. You can accept by silence. Someone sends you something that you didn't order, and if you don't send it back, you have to pay for it. Is that legally true? Yes, it's true. If someone sends you something, you're supposed to send it back if you didn't order it. Mailbox rule. Offeree accepts offer when the acceptance is dispatched to offerer in the form it was received, unless offerer requires a different method. So that means that the mailbox rule is, if I send you something in the mail that you have to respond to in the mail, I also have to allow you time to respond to it in the mail. And I cannot say, hey, oh, you don't get the money you were awarded because I didn't get the letter in time. It has to be reasonable, and it has to be based on when they mailed it, not when I received it. All right, consideration. Okay, something of legal sufficient value is given in exchange for a promise, and that is bargained for between the parties. And assignment is a transfer of contractual rights to a third party. So I can get into third party contracts and things like that if you guys want to, but I kind of feel like I've been talking. And I just hope that some of that information has kind of helped you guys a little bit, because you deal with contracts all the time, whether it's with the phone company or with whatever. You don't have to be owning your business to need to know this kind of information and for it to be useful to you. But anyways, this week coming up with Melanality, I am looking forward to meeting with some models and getting some stuff done so that I can put it up on a website so that I can launch in March, because that's the goal. All right, toodles.